Welcome back, this is News Extra. Now, if you live in Norwich or one of the other big towns around Norfolk, then rural crime might be something of a mystery to you, but it costs a fortune. It costs millions. In 2015 alone, it's thought that rural crime did cost our county around £1 million. That's up some 39% on the year before. It could be break-ins, it could be kit being stolen, it could be livestock worrying, it could be fly tipping. The list goes on and on and on. So what can be done about it? Well, a new rural crime strategy is being announced for the county here at a rural crime summit. So what will it mean and how will things change for our county?
You know, about 2 years ago we had 6 police officers dedicated to rural crime. Today we've gone up to 12, and by the new year we'll be at 20. So we're throwing more resources at it. You see some of the kit we have here today, the specials on horseback, we've increased them by 1. We've gone from 5 to 6 horses just in the past week. You're going to see more visible policing in the rural community. That was my promise during the election campaign. I'm delivering on that promise. I think it was too much of a one-way communication in the past. We're doing something about that. We have a weekly newsletter, Neil, that goes out. It's called Operation Randall Newsletter. We had 600 subscribers when I took office. We're up to nearly 2,000 now. This is a two-way exchange of intelligence and information.
Rural crime is a big issue, and there's the sense at the end of the day, like a lot of things to do with rural areas, that we're tail-end Charlies, that however much the police try to put people into crime prevention and solving crimes, obviously it's much easier in the big urban areas like Norwich, Kings Lynn and Yarmouth.
Well, this is the launch of the draft rural crime strategy, priority of the Police and Crime Commissioner and of Norfolk Constabulary, one of the priorities of the force, because we recognise that rural crime, rural concerns, rural perception about crime is very important to the community.
There's a whole list of rural crimes that are pervading the lives of all of our members in rural areas. They're everything from metal theft to plant theft, particularly quad bikes are being targeted and trailers, to other things like hare coursing and wildlife crime, and of course fly tipping. And so all of these collectively are a challenge and a cost to rural businesses that they really don't need at the moment. And what we're saying today is that rural areas should not be seen as a soft target for criminals to operate in, and the police need to invest in those areas to ensure our rural communities are as safe as those in urban.
So how bad is the current rural crime situation? Well, you have to say a lack of visible policing or bobbies on the beat's a common complaint, whether you're in the middle of a Norwich housing estate or the middle of a field somewhere in North Norfolk. But what you have to remember about the rural crime statistics is that's a family or a business that could have lost a key part of their livelihood.
The Rural Crime Network did a survey early on this year and estimated that it was £800 million a year as the cost of rural crime. If you take that down to each household, that's an average of £200. Some of it is we would call relatively soft, but it isn't. So it's a whole raft of things across the board.
I think there's 2 aspects. Firstly is the impact of it. So if your sheep are stolen, for example, that is actually it's the equivalent of somebody driving into the front of a shop and stealing all of the goods out of the front window. So people don't understand the impact of it. And secondly, I think there's a very significant underreporting problem in rural areas. People don't think that the police are going to do anything about it, and so they don't report the crimes. So I would always urge people to call 101 or 999 if it's urgent to report something that's happened to them.
Crime of any kind is no respecter of county borders. And so I'm joined today by my counterpart in Lincolnshire, Mr. Mark Jones, for instance, and with him and my counterpart in Suffolk and Cambridgeshire, we're signing a concordat, which is our pledge to intensify our cross-border efforts to fight crime. Chances are if a tractor is stolen from this farm we're at today, within a few hours, it's going to find its way across the borders on its way to one of the ports out of the country. Well, through our technology, through our intensified resources, our intensified information intelligence exchange, we're going to fight that.
The key thing here is people think in the news when they see tractors stolen, they forget the tractor firstly could be worth up to £200,000. These are expensive, high-tech bits of kit. Not only that, but unlike when a family car is stolen, yes, that's a major issue. But when it's something so fundamental to someone's business, it stops the whole business progressing. And this is a very important time of the year at the moment in terms of drilling crops and the like. And if they have their key parts of their equipment and their armoury removed.
54% of this county by population is regarded by the County Council as rural. market towns such as Kings Lynn, where I come from, or Dereham and so on. The magic is in the name, market, and the relationship to the farm. But it's not just farm crime. We're talking about field sport crime, and we're talking about challenges to rural business, challenge to historic sites, churches, the theft of lead from church roofs. That's all part of the rural crime agenda. We're going to tackle all of them.
So why is an area like rural Norfolk so difficult to police? Is the space too big, the crimes too spread out, and the police too few and far between? Well, this policy has three key bits of the jigsaw. It's about more manpower, better technology and better communication.
The remoteness of some of the locations of Norfolk, the infrastructure, the geography, the actual way of communicating with such dispersed communities is always a challenge. But it also provides us with an opportunity, because where police aren't, communities are, and if they can be our eyes and ears, supply us with information, then that's vital to us. Expect to see more police officers. We utilise the special constabulary, we utilise our partners, we utilise the community themselves. And what we're about in Norfolk is trying different things. You see here today the specials on horseback, the quad bike, the broad speed, all of those initiatives we've introduced over the last few years and are really determined to take them forward.
Well, I think first of all there needs to be an awareness between the police and those of us who live in the rural environment to understand what the challenges are. But equally, from our point of view, we need to learn how to actually help ourselves from a security point of view. Locking of gates, using of cameras, creating networks so that if there are incidents, they can actually be dissipated across the rural network very quickly.
Of course, the police are under budget constraints, but also it's very difficult sometimes to pinpoint where these crimes happen in very rural areas. So there's a lot we can all do as a partnership, which is why we've come together today, to make sure we are reporting crime when it happens, so we build a picture. Secondly, that we're all vigilant and we're making our own measures, taking our own measures on our farmyards and things to ensure that we're safe from crime as we can be. And thirdly, that we're getting involved with the likes of Farm Watch and other coordinated schemes that are operating in the county to ensure that we all have eyes and ears on the ground, because as you say, the police can't be around every corner.
Well, personal responsibility is important, so you need to take every measure you can to protect your property. So things like CCTV help, farmers can get their vehicles tagged, all sorts of things like that. But actually, one of the most important ways the community can help the police is by reporting things that they think is suspicious, or joining a watch scheme, or those type of activities. So it really needs to be a partnership between the police and the community, because with the best will in the world, you can't have a police officer down every lane end.
It's not just getting the police to do more, but all of us must do more as well. You must look at the protection of your house and your property. There's a whole variety of ways of doing that. Local volunteers, monitoring people as well, that if you see something happening in your area, a white van that you think is suspicious, you either get in touch with the police or some other organisation to alert them.
Well, I can't say rural crime be down, because I can't promise that. I can only promise to fight a war against rural crime. And to me, it is a campaign, not for today or next week, but certainly for the 4 years that I'm in office. What will my measure be? We'll bring the rural community back together again in a year's time and ask how we're doing. This is not my rural crime strategy. This is not the police's rural crime strategy. This is the rural community's crime strategy. We're going to allow for the next fortnight views to be conveyed directly to my office. This is truly the rural community's crime strategy.
So that's the plan, and they very much want your views on it. And if you do want to get involved, all the details are on your screen now. And if you want to join the conversation with us on Twitter, we are @MustardTV. The normal hashtag is NewsExtra. NewsExtra back same time tomorrow night, but until then, thanks for watching. Goodbye.